Thank you for tuning in. We are Tristan and Michael, and you are listening to Fuse, transparent conversations for marriage, family, and relationships. We invite you to join us as we discuss perspectives that are thought about but not talked about. So tell your friends and family to check us out and connect with us on social media, and join the conversation by emailing us at fusemarriages.com.
That's what's up.
All right. So what are we talking about today, Michael?
Well, today we are going to talk about gender roles.
Okay.
Some things have changed over time.
Some things have definitely changed.
and maybe for the better in a lot of cases,
Maybe.
right?
Okay.
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about if it's for the better or for the worse.
Okay.
In some cases for the better, some cases it causes some other situations, some other dynamics within the family itself.
Oh.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So I was looking at some stats.
Okay.
All right. Department of Labor got some stats. Back in 1980, you had families that had kids under 18 only had around 35% of couples that were both working. Okay. 35%. Now let's jump forward to 2019. That's jumped up to around 64%. So that's so basically you have both parents, the mother and the father, with kids in the house. Most of them are now working, which is really, we grew up in a different era. I mean, sometimes both parents didn't work, right? The mother kind of maybe stayed at home for a little bit, at least for the first 2 or 3 years potentially. And then, it may join the workforce back then. Okay. But now it's like, okay, I've seen some women, have a baby, and 6 weeks later, they going back to work.
That's a lot.
That is.
That's a lot of women. That's a lot of us have to, jump back into the workforce.
So that's different, right? That's a whole different mindset. Like, okay, well, who gonna raise the kids? I guess you got people getting nannies, I guess, or whatever, or daycares. Yeah.
I mean, I think most of us would still say we're raising the kids, but yeah, we need a little more support than we might have in 1980. Right. And only 30. You said 34%, 35% were working.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, that's like when you talk about gender roles. Now you're talking about who does what. Yeah. Okay. Who's responsible for what? And it's like, okay, traditionally you think, the man's supposed to like cut the grass, make sure the car is taken care of. You know what I mean? Sometimes, it could mean like bringing home the bacon, right? But we have some women now, they bringing home the bacon.
Well, come on now.
So like some men got to like, okay, hold on. They got to swallow. So, hey, you know what? My woman, she handling up. How does that make a man feel? And you know what? She's the one bringing home the bacon.
Ooh. We are covering a lot already.
Yeah.
Okay.
I need to slow down for you. I'm moving too fast. hey, I can pump the brakes. We can stop and spin around and,
There's a lot happening here. So we're talking about the dynamic family changes right. When you are looking at what has been the traditional look of the family where one parent, likely the male, is in the workforce and the woman is staying at home with these very, these different kinds of jobs that we have in the household, according to this historical perspective. And now we're jumping forward where not only is the woman now in the workforce, but now the home responsibility. So we're not just talking about what's happening at work. We're talking about what's happening at home, which is a whole different thing. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, so like when you're talking about what's happening, right? So I mean, ultimately, like some kind of roles got to be defined for the family to function. Okay. For me, now this is my perspective. I love to hear what you have to say. That like life is about order. Okay. Right. Order, responsibilities, roles. People got to fit in a particular puzzle piece to make the complete picture. Okay. If you don't know what piece you in or where that piece goes or who's going to be doing what or confused on it or really in a disagreement about it, that picture may not turn out like what you think. It may not be the white picket fence that you want. You know what I mean? So it could be, that has to be talked about to say, okay, especially in 2020, you got to be able to say, okay, hold on, the dynamics of how we are raising kids, how we're working, what things I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? As a man, maybe I need to cook. You know what I mean? Maybe as a woman, you know what? You got to go get your own oil change. I have a hard time even just saying that. I don't sound right. But it doesn't. Some men, that may happen. For some women, have to do that. Maybe mine won't have to do that. But I'm like, thank you. Yeah. But like, I gotta be, so some people gotta be outside of that scope of saying and thinking like, okay, hold on, we gotta figure out what works best for us.
Right. And you started by going into who's making the money, who's making the majority of the money or the lion's share. So I want to dig into that a little bit.
Okay.
So as we're talking about gender roles, how big a part does the money, the finances, play a part in who does what as this puzzle piece, as you were trying to talk about that?
If we being real about it, it plays a big role.
Okay.
A big role.
Go on.
Because typically the person that makes the money drives the majority of the decisions.
Is that right?
It ain't right, but it's the truth. It ain't right, but it's the truth.
So what you're saying is the person that has the gold makes the rules. I think that's a line from Aladdin.
That might be.
I think so.
That might be.
But whoever has the gold makes the rules, is what you're saying. Whoever makes the most money in the relationship makes the decisions.
I would hate to say like make the rules aspect of, but they do definitely. I think they play a bigger part in driving some decisions. Should it be that way? It probably shouldn't.
No, it absolutely shouldn't.
See,
that's Tristan. I do not think. I think that both people should feel like they have equal say in what happens in the finances and what happens in the home and what happens from the car that we get. I do not think that either person should have more or less say in a marriage.
I agree with you in theory, but how that plays out in real life, it don't play out like that a lot of times in real life. And that's unfortunate, right? That's why we're talking about it now. But unfortunately, it doesn't play out like that. And the reason why I think people get a sense of saying, okay, I've earned this. Now I get the responsibility to say this is what's going to happen with it. And that's not the right mindset to have, but you got to like untrain your mind to kind of really work that through and say, you know what, hold on, pump the brakes. Let's bring my spouse into the situation or this conversation or this decision. You know what I mean? Just because I have, I got paid on Friday, I can't just go, you know what I mean, and go spend $200 just because I'm the one that got paid and I earned it. There got to be a discussion between y'all two.
I think, at least in my experience, talking about money, and I know we have an upcoming show about money, but talking about money is like a really sensitive conversation because when you're single, this is mine and that is yours. And I made my money, you make your money. We go out on dates, but it doesn't mean that there's a commingling of funds. There's not like necessarily, okay, now if you're living together, cohabitating or whatever, maybe you've already kind of experienced this. But if you're just getting married, this is your first time kind of being in this new environment. Now you're having dialogue about who's paying what. And even that's kind of sketchy. Like, I'm paying the light bill. Well, my light bill is only like $80. So, you might have a little extra and this person's paying the mortgage or whatever. So that's again in another show. But just when you're talking about money and who makes more and how do we really have an equal say over the paycheck that this person went to work for, or this person, their education is paying for this, or even how you talk about like, well, I have to pay these bills. That can tear up a relationship.
No, 100% can. I think, that's probably one of the number of reasons people get divorced, right? They don't get a good understanding of money, which to me is like, that's a gender role thing. I mean, it could play, I say gender role because it's like traditionally it was never an issue when you had the man making the money. The woman kind of had, I'm going to take care of the home and this, that, and the other. And the man was really making all the decisions, where they lived at, what kind of car they bought, how many hours he worked, all this kind of stuff that really was just the male driven choices. And that's changed.
Yes, thank you.
And like, a lot of us though, we grew up in that environment. So like, we don't really know how to navigate when it's like, okay, both parents working like, we both working 40 hours plus. You know what I mean? Now what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get them bust them suds.
Bust the suds.
Bust the suds.
Define your terminology, please.
Bust the suds. What? Bust the suds. Hey, y'all help her, please. Bust the suds is washing them dishes.
That's what I thought it was. I mean, I'm not the only. I'm a city girl. Folks, I'm from the city. We don't say things like bust a sub. We say wash the dishes because that's what you about to do. So anyway, if y'all are out there listening to us and y'all have some questions about gender roles or you've experienced something yourself, let us know. Email us info@fusedmarriages.com. Hit us up on our social media platforms, because this is a big issue. This is a big conversation. Like you're saying, right now, people are in the workforce, men and women. And thank you, women. We are doing our thing. We are entrepreneurs. We are building businesses. We are corporate executives. We are in those closed door meetings, and we are breaking down some barriers. But that does have an effect on how does the household run, because traditionally y'all think we're supposed to be up in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant, and there's nothing wrong with being pregnant, or if that's your calling, or being a homeschool mom, or if you're, hey, I like being at home, I work from home, whatever is your thing, do you, boo. But for us, and I'm going to talk about our situation a little bit, that is not my calling. I don't have what it takes. And look, when my husband and I got married, I said, look, I love to cook 2 to 3 times a week. The rest of the time, y'all gonna eat some leftovers. Y'all gonna have to order something, because I'm not cooking 5 times, and I'm not doing it. I'm not trying to transform this chicken every day into something different.
It's good leftovers.
It's not gonna be chicken and then chicken salad and then chicken enchiladas and then chicken with rice. We're not doing that. Y'all gonna have to figure that out. Right. So
you wasn't that harsh with it, but that's the approach you took.
Yeah, that's the approach. Y'all understood. You understand now, right?
It's all clear.
Okay.
It's all clear. So, and I don't mind leftovers. That's all good.
Okay, thank you, boo. Well, that's good.
Leftovers.
I'm glad to hear that. It's not all the same. But when we talk about what that now looks like for us, because we're both working, we're both hustling, we both got our things going on. Like a lot of people out there, you're working your job, you have to come home. There's a difference in what we have to do than what some other families or what our parents may have had to do. Like latchkey kids, where you come home, you unlock the house. I remember when I was growing up, my mom was at the home at some points, and sometimes she was working outside of the home. But there were times when I would come home from school, and there would be a note there from my mom, because she's awesome, and there would be a snack or something. Hey, get this out. And my mom would tell us, we would have a list of tasks to do before she came home. We have these things done. By the time I get here, Tristan, you do this. And, my siblings, they would have their things to do and start on your homework and all of these things. Right. Because she was not physically there. If she was physically there, then she would have been on us to do them herself. Okay. And so I think about that, because I wonder how, not having a parent in the home how it affects kids, how it affects not just the spouses, but how it affects that relationship with their children. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to talk about this, it's saying, how does it, like, you got 2 people working, and then how the kids are the dynamics. It's like, I think you got to have a game plan, first of all. I mean, because that's like, ultimately, you got kids, which is a responsibility. But you also got to have a household that you got to run, and you got a career you're trying to balance as well. So if you don't have a game plan with you and your partner, you and your spouse, to say, okay, you know what, here's how we're going to handle it. I mean, because ideally, I think women are more nurturers than men. So like, it's almost like I would look for the women, at least, I would love to hear about what your thoughts on it. The women kind of take the lead on being that nurture aspect, and like from, making sure they're good, making sure they're kind of doing the homework, kind of the whole piece of really developing them.
I think it depends.
It depends. I mean, I'm just saying, to me, that's like a discussion then, right? Because like most men ain't kind of like, hey, let me, talk about your feelings and make sure everything's good. Most men don't do that. Yeah, maybe not. Not saying there's some that do, but like, you know what I mean? I think that's like, women have a really good spirit and heart in making sure their kids feel safe. They feel comforted. They have, the ability to kind of really grow and mature in a way that's, positive.
Yeah. Well, I think again, everything that we say on the show, it can vary from family to family. Yeah. But I do think that there are some men out there that are, particularly men with their sons, where they might be more hands-on. They might be more, and I think it might be possible with daughters, especially if they find some common interest where they're really investing into their kids' growth. Like if you're, and this is an example, because this is what we experience. If the father is into basketball and the daughter is into basketball, then there's some commonality. So they're going to continue to connect. I'm going to come to your games. I'm going to invest in you. I'm going to see how you're doing. Same with the son, if you're into football or some things. I think the challenge is when there isn't that common interest, kind of who does what. And I think that that's kind of a gender role conversation, as you're saying, okay, well, I'm picking up such and such. Who's going to be going to the game? Are we both going to be able to do that? Who's going to the art show? Who's going to the play or the choir concert? And those kinds of things, because I do think that both parents have to be invested and involved. But I think that there are some times when it's who does what kind of gets, there's a question mark, and how the kids relate to you when there's a question mark. Here's a question for you. Okay. So going a little off the beaten path as we talk about responsibility. And I mentioned, picking up the kids or going to the games. How is that affected in terms of the cooking and the cleaning if the wife is making more money? Is the expectation still that the wife does these more traditional kinds of cooking, cleaning, pick up the kids from school, that stuff?
I need a qualifier to what you just said.
Okay.
How much more money we talking about?
It matters?
Yes.
What's significant?
I mean, is she a six-figure type? What you mean? What we talking about? Because that what we talking about? Man, I'm washing, I'm cleaning, I'm going to the laundromat if we had to, picking up your clothes, one of your bath water. What I mean?
Extra.
I'm just saying. What we mean?
Well, I don't see. I would wonder why it matters. But talk to me. Talk to me.
Okay, on the real though. But that is true. I was really being truthful on that. It depends.
I know you were.
It do depend.
Okay.
So you're saying if she makes more money, then so you know what? I mean, I think that's a tough one because like really most men or boys, you know what I mean? Come to boys, they're not raised to be like, say, okay, you know what? Here are the traditional things that you do. At least a lot of people my age weren't raised that way.
Okay.
Maybe some boys now kind of being raised differently, but like particularly, if you were in the 30s, 40 range, you're raised to kind of do some things differently. Like say, okay, you know what? You know how to change the oil. You know how to change the tire. You know how to cut the grass. You know how to make sure the home is maintained. You may not know how to cook. And now I know some brothers that can cook. So I know, I ain't trying to say there's some brothers that we know that can throw down, but that's a rarity.
Yeah.
Right. And I bless them. They good. But you know what? Don't tell me I can't do that. I got 3 dishes I can make. That's it.
Gosh.
3. We ain't gonna talk about it now, but I got 3 dishes. And they good dishes. But I got 3 dishes. And I can't expand beyond that.
Google
don't teach me how to turn. I need some seasoning, some good taste. Google don't tell me about all that. They tell me some instructions.
Those got cookbooks.
Man, you trying to ask that?
I'm just saying,
tough one.
You don't know because you don't want to know, but we can move on from there.
Please.
So if we're talking about responsibility and we're talking about how much money that spouse makes, that wife makes, and I use the wife because I wonder if it's more challenging for the man to submit, quote unquote, to this kind of financial structure in the home than it is for a woman. And quite frankly, that's something that has been like we've had to submit to the man's, dominance in the home and in the workforce for entirely too long. So I just wonder if
entirely too long. Why the animosity when you say that?
Because I'm a woman and I've had to do it for entirely too long. See, so on that, so why then do you think that it is a challenge for men to be more comfortable if they are making the lion's share of the household money?
I think it's because, you know what, as men, we're born leaders, right? And part of being a born leader is providing for your family. So like in order to switch that off, that's tough because like it's innate in us to say, okay, you know what, we're born leaders, we're providers, we're builders, we're creators, and you take that away from a man, that's all he knows and what he thinks he is. That's going to be a tough kind of transition he have to make. Not saying it's not an impossible one, but it's going to he got to switch something in his head to say, okay, this is where it's at. My wife is doing her thing. She's providing, like you said, the lion's share of the family finances. I got to figure out how can I support her in that way. Let her do her thing. Maybe I'm not working or whatever have you. Something happened. I'm not making as much as she's making, but I still can kind of do some other things. Maybe kind of feel like, hey, I'm gonna call it the king of my castle, because the money part does kind of draw that. It's like a psychological thing. Because I know some guys, they go work 2 or 3 jobs. You know what I mean? Just to kind of like to make things work for their kids and for their family. Right. So that's something to kind of like, as a wife, I would think, if that's that situation that you're in, you're making more than him, you want to figure out some way to kind of make him feel like, okay, no, you still the man.
Still secure.
Yeah. And he ain't gonna say he insecure, but I think it's an insecurity. Yeah.
So you're saying that a portion of male insecurity can come from the lack of being the financial leader in the home.
Yeah. It's a tough pill to swallow. And it's a dynamic, you know what I mean?
Why? Why is it a tough pill to swallow to think that a woman might make more money than you?
Right. And to me, I mean, honestly, it's not an issue with them making more money. I don't think a lot of us had that, but I think it's really just saying that, you know what, I'm supposed to be this provider, and I'm not that.
Provider meaning financially
provider. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be that, right? I'm supposed to I'm supposed to go out and conquer the world for my family.
Okay.
And when I got to put on a different suit or a different mindset, that's a tough one. You know what I mean? For a man, like I said, it's not impossible, but it's a tough one that women got to kind of like talk their man through that and love him through that.
Mm-hmm. So he can be a good partner.
Yeah.
And not resent. Because that could be another thing, resentment in the relationship because they're making more money or they're at they have a title that you don't have. And that title might not even come with necessarily more finances. But if the wife is doctor such and such, or has a career in a field that is more recognized. So, and I think that could be, maybe it doesn't just have to do with money. It has to do with access
that's
to
true.
people or to resources or to whatever it is. But y'all let us know what you think. Have you had to deal with gender roles in your relationship, or have you seen somebody? How does that affect the marriage? How have you noticed it affect the children? How does it affect how they interact with other couples? Do they seem to be in animosity, or is that something that you've experienced? Let us know. info@fusedmarriages.com, or hit us up on our social media. Okay, so I have another question for you.
Talk to me.
So it has been kind of a thought before, because you mentioned being the king of your castle. And I have heard that if you don't feel like you're a king at your castle, you're going to be a king somewhere.
Man.
So if we're taking this kind of walk down this lane, okay, I'm not making the most money. So I don't feel like a king in my castle. So I'm going to go find another castle where I feel like I'm making more money. So is the connection possible that there could be infidelity because of the gender role issue?
100% can happen that way.
Okay. Come on.
100% can happen that way. Because it's like, okay, you take a man's manhood away.
Manhood meaning finances. We're talking.
I mean, it could be finances. It could be psychological. It could be like, you know what? You telling him what to do, you bossing him around. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, that's
a respect thing that you're talking about. Okay.
People can look at it as gender role too, like, right? Because it can be like, I'm telling you what to do because I'm making the money.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm over here, I'm the one that got the power in the aspect of I'm running the show because I'm driving all the decisions financially. So that kind of trickles down from a financial decision standpoint to how we run our house standpoint. Oh, now you ain't nothing because you just at the house. You know what I mean? Ooh. It can, so if he start feeling that way and you start beating him down, I guess you can switch it up and say from a woman to, don't really matter in this case.
Yeah.
They gonna like, man, hold on. I don't, you know what I mean? I'm maybe trying to figure out where we should be fitting in on the gender role standpoint, but you don't have to like treat me that way.
Yeah. And that's why I think that could be a respect thing, because you can not make more money and still feel honored.
That's true.
In your home.
That's true.
And that goes for either spouse, where if she makes less money, but she's still honored as the woman of the house, and she's still equal in the decision-making processes and what it is that have to be accomplished in the home. And she's not expected to do the traditional roles just because she makes less from a financial perspective. Right. And I think that's something that's really interesting is, if both people are working outside of the home, then how are the responsibilities within the home divided? And then how do other people, and by people I mean like close family, see these kind of non-traditional relationships? I know there's a lot of movies that are made about the woman goes to work and then the mother-in-law or the father-in-law is like, well, who's doing this? Oh, you got your kids in daycare, or oh, well, she didn't cook. She stopped by the store and got some pre-made something. So what do you think about how how you deal with immediate family, or how people converse about your non-traditional household.
I mean, I think, if you got like a non-traditional kind of makeup of your family where, you know what, the wife may be doing something a little different than what, you know, you think you should be doing from a familiar standpoint, how you grew up or how your family saw you grow up, you're going to have to hey, have some heart about, hey, where you at, and you and your wife got to be on the same page, or you and your husband got to be on the same page about it. Because you're going to get them looks, and you can't stop them looks.
Yeah, yeah.
They going to come, they going to be whispering like, oh, for real? He over there.
He at the house?
He washing a lot of dishes. Like,
he doing the laundry.
Laundry, folding, like,
right.
Like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's she doing? Mm-hmm. You know, you
That's
the one,
real.
you working, you know what I mean? You over here, you know, driving forklifts or something.
I don't know about that.
I'm just saying, but you basically working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they'd be looking like, okay, why is she over here driving forklifts?
Yeah.
And he over here, you know what I mean? He washing dishes and folding laundry.
Yeah.
They at their mind, it's like you really can't. I would not try to convince my family otherwise, but I'll be on the same page with my spouse saying, okay, hey, we're gonna hear this. This is what we do though. Yeah. Be good.
And you have to be really secure in what you're doing. Like, not just you and your spouse, but what you're doing in this season, or who you are in this moment. Right. So I think that there's like a level of personal security that you have. Like, okay, I'm a dude and I like to bake. I do pies and cakes. That's just what I do. Yep. And feeling comfortable in that. And then understanding, okay, with my spouse, I do Thanksgiving dinner. She doesn't do Thanksgiving dinner. She decorates or whatever. Or she doesn't decorate. That's not her thing. I like to do the households. I like to do the drapes. I like to whatever. And just being solid in that. Or if you're a woman, I work from home. Well, she's at the house all the time. Why can't she? Why can't she make more meals? Or why can't she I know my experience is I work both outside the home and inside. And my experience has been like, people like, well, she's at home. So what's she doing? I'm working. You know, that's what I'm doing in the house. So not everybody is going to understand what you are doing. And I think it when it becomes a problem is when you expect people to understand, and then you can grow. Well, why didn't you tell them what I'm doing at the house? Why didn't you say? So anyway, I think having those conversations ahead of time and being secure in who you are and what you do is a big deal.
Yep. Hey, I got just a few questions for you.
Okay.
So, should a woman cut the grass?
If she wants to.
I mean, should that be her responsibility to cut the grass?
If she's good at, I think this is the thing I think about responsibility. I think whoever does it best should do it. And I do think like, okay, nobody takes out the trash best. It just needs to be done. Okay, so true. For me, I'm more interested in you taking out the trash because that's my preference. It doesn't mean that I have to. But if we have an agreement, hey, you take out the trash, I prefer that you take out the trash, then I expect you to do it. Okay. So I think that when it comes to things that there might be somebody that does it better, I think the person that does it better should be the person that does it. Just because you might be really good at tilling the flower bed. I might not. I might have I don't have a green thumb. So letting that person do it. Or somebody might be good at balancing the budget. Okay. That person should do it, male or female. It doesn't matter. To me, it's whoever is better at doing it. You might be better at helping the kids with their homework. I might be a nurturing, loving mom, but I don't understand the way that they do math now. So I think that it's really being honest with what you are capable of doing, and then making sure that you are really connected. So like somebody's got to do it. Hey, I don't know who's going to do it, but in this connection, in this relationship, we got to make some decisions. So I think it really goes down to making sure that you are communicating.
So that means the better person that can cook should cook, right? Okay, let's leave it there. Let's leave it right there.
Not all the time. Okay, all right. Well, thank you guys for joining us again today. Make sure that you connect with us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and check out our website for more content and resources, fusedmarriages.com. Let's talk about it.
You're listening to Fused with Tristan and Michael.